How the hell do Christian men navigate all the voices trying to tell them how to be a Christian man? Like when you want to learn and grow, so you're open to others' opinions, but definitely not blindly compliant to whoever's yelling the loudest. If you relate to that, there's a Facebook group for a specific kind of Christian man. The group is called The Sovereign Man. I'll tell you more about it, but first you got to hear a good story about how I'm a recovering asshole. A long time ago, I was street preaching on the corners of Dallas, Texas, and I was holding a sign that said, "Abortion is murder, homosexuality is a sin, and atheists go to hell." I was wearing a shirt that said "Straight Pride" on it, and boy, did I think I was Jesus Jr. I was hoping somebody would come and confront me, but let's pause that scene for just a sec and go back to my senior year of high school before I became a Christian. I was doing drugs, fighting, stealing from family, planning to rob a convenience store, daydreaming of unaliving a specific person in my life, cheating on girls, lying, just fucking hated the world. I mean, fuming. And definitely hated Christians. They seemed so hypocritical, it was disgusting to me. And to make it worse, as a teen, I had family members who were adults telling me things like, "You have to fuck the world first before it fucks you." And it felt true because I was attacked and raped by a stranger as a kid. Years later, I was jumped by four guys. Bunch of things happened that could harden the average person. But after a beautiful series of events my senior year, I started a relationship with God. And they began transforming my heart and character. My heart suddenly broke for people I had hurt, and I was going back to them and asking for forgiveness. I was seeing tons of beautiful things in people now that were sitting there all along, and began giving encouragement everywhere I went. I was thanking people for even the smallest things. I was giving to people just to give. When someone mistreated me, I was asking myself what might have happened in their past that's making them do that. I was becoming a person of my word. I was smiling, just loving God and life and people now. But I changed my plans from going to college to seminary in Dallas instead. Therefore, I get to seminary totally lit up, full of zeal. I am so excited to learn more about God, how to be like Jesus Christ, and love people the way he did. That's all I wanted. But within a year, I'm already becoming a self-righteous, judgmental, legalistic asshole because I'm being lured by people just like that, but they looked so devout and confident and true and uncompromising and courageous and just elite. So I listened to their voices. And now we're back at my arrogant street preaching scene, right? I'm preaching, and every time somebody throws food at me, spits at me, threatens me, my confidence that I'm doing exactly what God wants me to do is only deepening. I'm becoming more and more sure that I'm part of the few, chosen, true Christians, not those backsliding, bench-warming Christians who like to give people ear candy and are too scared to love people enough to tell them the truth like it is. So after hitting, after hitting a big wall and things too long to describe, I end up deeply humbled by God and realize how much I had hurt people and how indoctrinated I had become. I felt I felt really embarrassed and shocked at how gullible I was to think that just because they could quote a bunch of scriptures to justify their actions, that that's truly what the Bible was saying to do. Like I felt like I betrayed myself out of naive zeal and passion. Like I couldn't believe I let myself go like that, especially after how much I had hated Christians beforehand. Therefore, I vowed to myself to never choose radical extremes again and to always look for evidence on both sides of any topic in order to gain a balanced perspective on it all. I vowed that if I'm ever getting zealous or passionate again, that I would put that passion in check and assume it would only lead me to a negative extreme or huge mistake. I would live by wisdom and balanced godly principles now, not impulsive zeal or passion. And that sounds wise, right? And yes, there's wisdom in that, but inside every good lesson learned is a snare, a hidden trap that the enemy lays for you to try to fuck up your growth. We cover more about Trojan virtues in the group. But that inner vow sentenced me to years of feeling terrified of forming strong opinions on anything. And I became extremely agnostic, passive, and uncertain. I was so bewildered by my mistake that it felt impossible to ever again be sure that I know any truth. Now, again, that sounds quite humble, but I was so fucking terrified of extremes that I made an extreme vow and became extreme again. I basically vowed to be nothing. Then I felt inner turmoil over this for years because I felt kind of faceless, like I was betraying myself and my purpose again. So for years, I was scared of pridefully asserting wrong views onto people, but I was also scared to stand for nothing and make no difference in the world whatsoever. That I was desperately trying to be a Michael who was balanced and wise and principled and researched so that I wouldn't make mistakes from zeal or passion. But I deadened my heart and my spirit on the way there. Are you all following me? I hope you all are following me. You know, the right people actually are following me. So you have to imagine the twisted impact that that had on the people in my life. Like my wife, for example. I'll cover it more in detail in the group, but just in summary, imagine being married to someone who treats you like a collection of godly commitments that they've made, just a list of boxes that they need to check. And on paper, it all looks like the dream husband, like a godly man. But my wife has enough depth and is real enough and discerning enough to know that although he's making himself do all these things, because I was making himself do all these things outwardly and they look good, she has enough sense to know that there's no heart, there's no passion, there's no excitement, there's no heartfelt intention, and it feels very clinical and forced. I'm sure she fucking loved that. So it took me a really long time and the reason I did that, the reason I was doing that is because I thought that a passionate Michael was too dangerous and shouldn't be let out. A zealous or excited Michael is too dangerous and shouldn't be let out. Now, I was right that a passionate Michael is a dangerous one, but I was wrong that he shouldn't be let out. And what I was going to say is it took me a long time to break free from the paralyzing fear of making mistakes again, especially mistakes from zeal or passion, excitement, inspiration. I spent tens of thousands of dollars learning how to take a mistake and turn it only into a good lesson learned, not baggage. I've probably spent $70,000 to date on mentors, counseling, and programs because I've needed a lot of help taking all of my failures, all the different viewpoints that are out there, all the questions about myself, and settle on my identity, my values, my mission, my stances that I'm going to take, and set course for powerful, high-impact action while having a readiness to make mistakes and practice humility when I do so, all while not diminishing my power. It's a very simple idea, isn't it? Very simple, easy to understand. Anyone can understand that. But what's hard is the execution of it, right? And the getting entangled and enslaved by your own self-imposed lies and bullshit. That's the interesting part. So, why join the Sovereign Man group? What's the problem? Well, let me describe the traits of a sovereign man to you. These are the strengths along with their parallel weaknesses. And you'll see for yourself. Now, I won't cover them all. I'll only cover a few. But we go into them all extensively in the group. We work on them extensively in the group because, like I said, they're strengths and weaknesses. So let me pull this up. But if you're already thinking of someone who might like this group or might at least want to know about it, let me know or tag them below. And let's at least give them a chance to know about it and decide for themselves whether or not they want to join the group. But yeah, so let me cover this. So let's first talk about his unorthodox faith. So the sovereign man hesitates to tell people he's a Christian because he defines it differently than most Christians and non-Christians. He would rather avoid conventional labels, so he might say he has a relationship with God or he's a follower of Christ, something like that instead. The potential weakness is he can be evasive or non-committal frequently, and he needlessly makes conversation difficult on these things. Exo alpha beta. This man operates outside society's alpha-beta hierarchy. He wants to avoid both extremes of being an aggressive, controlling alpha and a cowardly, compliant beta. Instead of controlling, he prefers to influence. And instead of complying, he prefers to voluntarily support. Potential weakness is the question, can he encounter a true threat to people and meet it with protective force that's adequate? Gender secure. The sovereign man is secure in his gender, and his worth isn't tied to how masculine or feminine he is. He rejects conventional ideas like men shouldn't like flowers or the color pink. He also rejects the idea that strong masculine traits should be avoided. Potential weakness is, can he bring relevant conversation to people around gender? And especially around those who think in gender normative extremes or who think in gender fluid extremes. Polar perspective. He's been wrong plenty of times, so he sees that there's so much out there he can learn. He's also a bit suspicious of what he's told, so he approaches controversial topics by examining evidence from both sides equally. That's being polar perspective. He seeks truth, not biased allegiance to a side. Potential weaknesses, does he vacillate and never land on a stance that he's willing to take on a single thing? Lone Ranger. Seeing others rush to extremes and closed tribes, the sovereign man naturally ends up a Lone Ranger out there who's in the middle and hard to label. His uncertainty and questions can make people feel threatened on both sides of a controversy. Neither of them feel that he belongs, so he opts to be self-authorized and find good use for the alone time he gets. Potential weakness is unnecessary loneliness and impeded growth from the isolation. Devil's advocate. When someone makes an extremely closed-minded and one-sided statement to him, he feels the urge to make them aware of the evidence for the other side's argument. Not because he's on the other side, but because he just wants the person to be less judgmental and willing to look into it more. The potential weakness is 1, he can be argumentative. 2, he can easily focus on challenging someone's viewpoint only and neglect sharing his own. 3, can he discern worthless topics? Engaging any viewpoint can inadvertently validate it. Selective debate. After debating with enough people who are easily offended or simply closed-minded, he's become selective with who he discusses topics with. He has enough self-worth to just default to listening and offering his perspective only when invited. Potential weakness is he gives himself no chance at all of influencing someone if he avoids stating disagreement with them. Additionally, the bystanders of debates are often tippable, so he loses them too. Negotiable empath. He can step into anyone's shoes and see life through their eyes, but his ability to validate and relate deeply can make it easy to justify others' poor behavior and difficult to stand firm and set boundaries when needed. The weakness there is redundant. Half rebel. He dares to challenge authority and wonders if the very notion of authority is a delusion sanctioned by society. He has high respect for experts, but he can't just blindly trust what a scientist, politician, or pastor says. He's deeply aware of humankind's brokenness as well as his own, so he proceeds cautiously. Potential weaknesses. Does his suspicions and conspiracy theories make him too disconnected from reality or impair his judgment? If a certain opinion looked common, would he avoid agreeing with it only because he's addicted to being above everyone? There's 8 additional traits that I won't go into here, but we cover them in the group. We work on them in the group extensively. But let's talk about who the group is for. The Sovereign Man group. I'll tell you who it's not for. It's not for Christian men who are happy where they're at and don't mind echo chambers and no one challenging their beliefs. It's not for young Christian men, meaning not in age, but in their faith. If they're new to their faith, new to following Christ, I don't think this is a good fit for you all. You won't think it's a good fit, trust me. So I'll let you decide whether or not that is you. But this is not a good fit for anyone new to their faith. Let's talk about who it's for. Here's the purpose of the group. The purpose is to cause Christian men to transcend what has made their faith complicated, shed self-imposed restraints, and get lit the fuck up about their life so that they can love their world more than ever before. It's for Christian men who are ready to leave any shallow bullshit behind and get uncomfortable doing intensive inner work. They want to have more guys in their life who formed a rare and tight brotherhood where there's nothing to hide and nothing to prove. It's for men committed to honoring each other while we each take turns placing our own hearts and minds on the examination table. We're being brutally honest with ourselves and each other, feeling the wild empowerment that comes from being seen fully, embraced fully, and trusted fully. We're seeing what has been holding us down this whole time and what to do next about it. We wrestle with any or all of the controversial topics together and do so with honesty, maturity, and humble pursuit of greater truth, walking away with deeper wisdom and piercing understanding. You'll see the remaining areas where you've been programmed by society and how to break free from it. You will reevaluate the inner vows that you've made to yourself over the years and keep what's useful and discard what's not. You will have rapid self-mastery. You will experience God directly and more often. You will have a constant sense of how crazy God feels about you. Your heart will be newly broken for those around you who are hurting. You'll become more loving than you ever have been before. You'll be inspired to serve people in new ways. You will get unleashed at deeper levels and see the size of your actions matching the full size of your heart. The Sovereign Man group, it's for Christian men who know they need to carve their own path. They know that they will be pursuing truth and Christ-likeness their own way and will end up landing wherever they end up landing, regardless of how much people like it or don't like it. And they can applaud any man who can do the same thing. And they're looking for a group of men who could grant that same dignity back to them so that we can together go on the journey of rapid transformation, radical self-recreation. So if that's you, I invite you to join the group. The link will be below. And if you know a sovereign man, I ask you to tag him, send this to him, something, and give him a compliment and say, hey, because he might think, well, are you sending this to me because of my weaknesses? What's going on? But send this to them, tag them below. Look, I love you all, and look out for us.